William Grafe, the Gambit man, takes his seat at the board. E4. E5. Knight F3. Bishop C5. The Bushcast Gambit on the board. On with the Gambit glasses. Hero pawn unlocked.
True, we're still going for third there in the arena. And I'm gonna have to win this. We have enough time, we have 5-12 in the arena. So we've got a von Hennig. Good stuff. Oh yeah, bishop d3 is something I wanted to play anyway. Redirecting that way, unless they're gonna not castle. Play an e5, which would be good no matter which way they go. Okay, bishop b7, they're gonna hold this. Queen h4, because what I want to do more than anything is put pressure on h7. If they don't castle, then I don't really have that. The bishop g5 will play very active here. I'm looking at like all sorts of weak points that I'm trying to hit. Oh, okay, that's what I wanted. That's beautiful. Now h7 is getting hit very hard. So we've got all these threats now to remove the knights from f6, which are defending h7 from the mate threat. Otherwise, h6, I take it, and I just crash right through. g6 also will lose, because knight takes d7, knight takes d7, bishop e7 is just a free bishop. Knight d7, queen d7 takes. Now, there won't be a pawn there to save it. So I think we just win, all of a sudden. Just overwhelming hits there. But what I really would have liked to demonstrate was that even if you could hold this for a sec, just like after rook here, like, I have all the time in the world also to make these ideas happen and pour in all these resources to hit. And yeah, these are really not defendable. It's the exact same structure, but reverse, yeah. So now I can just take this knight. I can even go rook takes, which is a little spicy, but I think I'll just collect it like a normal person. Maybe rook takes now. Queen defends here, and we're just a very clean piece ahead. Knight's gonna wander in for the final touches in a moment. I'll take that. Finally freed this bishop. I don't want to allow queen d4 check. So we'll go here, maybe use that square. Not to get mated on g2, of course. Yeah, so I no longer have bishop e4. I'll play queen f2, because it defends both these things. They're playing a little actively here. I have to deal with their things. I also have 28 seconds, so pick up the pace a bit. Knight d6 and threatens bishop e4, which would win another piece. With the knight doing very important work. Also hitting f7, which could get their king. I haven't even used this guy. Queen doing a good job here defending g2 and c5. Yeah, bishop e4 would be nice. Knight f7. I'll keep everything open right now. Knight f7 and bishop e4. Knight f7, I guess knight h6. Or rook f7 and queen f7. Should be mate to follow. Don't want to allow the queen too much time in there relative to her duties on g2. Honestly, if I were black here, I'd just take g2. Just trade everything off. Use the bishop to not get mated. Bishop seems almost toast anyway. But yeah, I won the piece and my position stayed very good. I think they did a good job of creating some threats, though. I might sack their queen here. No, no queen sack. Oh, probably that. Okay, we can trade everything, I think. There we go. New queen. That worked out nicely. We traded everything on f7. That mate. This will be mate. Kind of funny. Or I had made last move with bishop b7. Opponent trying to stall out the clock. However, there's 40 seconds left in the arena. And we won. Oh! No, a lot of people leapfrogged me. It did not matter. Did not matter. But we got a nice game there at the end, which demonstrated the power of these von Popiel, von Hennig ideas of queen e1, queen h4, which can really come up quite frequently. Really come up quite frequently. So, because if you're a von Popiel player also, if you're a fan of my channel, and you know this line as well, playing bishop to g5 in this position, the idea being after bishop f5 that we can play queen takes f3, hitting the bishop and the pawn. So, I mean, a lot of black players actually do just play e6, especially if they're willing to transpose into this French line. What we do is we play f3, and because of this move e6, now this is a much better version of just the standard black Mardimer, which would be like f3 in this position, for instance. And now black will have this bishop out. You know, they're going to be able to defend their king side, and with just an extra pawn. It's a very, very big difference if they've played this move e6. Now after something like f3 takes, and so like let's say bishop e7, bishop t3, castles. This is similar to my game, right? What we can do now is we have this diagonal. Their bishop is stuck here, stuck behind this pawn. And I think what I really like is this next idea. So they can play like, let's say b6, bishop b7, but this next idea of bring the queen to h4 and now to e5. And now all of a sudden, like, okay, this is basically what we had in the game, what I had in several other games. They could play, let's say, rook e8 to not lose the game so quickly. But what's going on here is that we are hitting h7. And my threat is to just take this knight twice, and then to checkmate them in this style. Although I'm not sure if it might not work in this exact position. Let's see. This idea is apparently better. Knight takes, queen takes, d5. Opening this up. Okay, we got some ideas here. Takes, bishop takes here. So the point of d5 is to be able to use the rook here. I guess check, takes. Wow, very nice. So there's some very, very, very fun attacking ideas. So we play your knight e5. We're basically trying to remove this knight. If they play h6, then we just take that, and we're just going to crash right through and win. We have 7 first. It's one thing analyzing this with the engine. Okay, check, and now we come in with all these checks. Very nice. Bring the rook around. So, very, very fun stuff that the bishop is so effective here because this light square bishop is not out on the diagonal first, defending the king side. And so g6 then majorly weakens this. And again, you're going to see these sorts of killer tactics working with the pins and with all this really beautiful stuff. So lots of fun stuff. I mean, you see White's pieces play so well, and even if there's not some immediate knockout, I mean, the rook comes to f3, rook comes to f1, lots of pressure down this line, or if not, you can go to this line or this line, knight will come to e4, and black's pieces just really aren't there in time. And so what happened in my game, you can go back to my game, so this was on a very similar line. You can also, if you're an e4 player, you can get von Popiel against Scandi players who play here d4, takes, as I still do. So e4, c6, d4, d5, knight c3 takes, bishop c4. Now we play in this line in the von Hennig. So the von Hennig is noted more for like black trying to hang on to this pawn. Like so, knight f6 they play. So d takes e4. We're actually immediately taking advantage of this diagonal. When we play your f3, takes is more common, and then bishop f5 or bishop to g4. Black can try to play bishop g4. Then we have this knight e5 trick, very, very, very nice, offering the queen for the king. And if bishop f5, then we have these other very, very tricky lines where we go after taking on in these points in this position. For example, White is threatening to play like rook takes f5 and take f7. So there's all sorts of tricky tricks that we can do with this bishop. Bishop f5 is still something black should try to play, and von Hennig has been covered on my channel. But if black does something in the game, like e6 in this position, admitting that they won't bring that bishop out, because when it comes to f5, it's a target for a rook, right? So if they play e6, well, so that's very similar to what happened in the game here with e6. Black was offering me to take the pawn right now, as the engine, of course, wanted me to do. If I play f3 here, just because, we love to gambit. But so now, okay, we've transposed back into a position where they would have played e6. Now, this is going to look like long Papille that we just talked about. Yes, I burned a move with bishop c4, and you'll see my bishop come back to d3, but they also burned a move with c6, and you should see that they are going to play c5. And I actually played another game in this arena that maybe I'll just review right after this. But I played here castles, bishop e7, and here comes queen e1 already. b5, bishop d3, that's something I was doing anyway. And knight e5. And so here I'm kind of hedging myself against, okay, maybe their king will castle long. Maybe I'm looking at some hits I want to do in the middle of the board. So bishop g5. I'm not going to only play with queen h4. Queen h4 would definitely scare any black player away from castling here, and maybe, they might run away the other way. But so bishop g5, I still think they should have played here maybe queen c7. But I tried to put myself in a position where I'd have some interesting ideas. Here, I saw the engine recommend this for a second. Literally just this and then queen e2. It's like, okay, and just attack like this. It's so funny. Just here and try to take e6, try and maybe go queen h5 check, knight e4. This is playable. This is apparently playable. Although, a little bit unnecessary. But so if we get, say, the rook to e1, then knight takes f7 and queen takes e6 would look like quite the knockout blow. And rook d1 being recommended. I saw a3, a4, knight e4, any of these sorts of moves, but it's already white has lots of compensation. Black probably won't be safe on this part of the board either with their pawn on b5. Going back to the game, though, castles was absolutely not playable, because queen h4 is not only a nice attack, but it's kind of a knockout blow because of what we talked about before, the bishop coming back to d3, hitting h7 without the light square bishop being able to run interference on this diagonal. And so now we're hitting h7, and I just want to take f6 once and twice, get rid of that knight, and take h7. That's why, another reason why we opened the f-file was so that this rook could play so well, and h6, again, is just not really going to stand in my way much at all. If nothing else, the rook can come to g3. So g6 had to be played in the game, was the only way, and now knight takes d7, and another nice feature is this pin. So knight takes, bishop takes e7, as I mentioned, the game was going to win, and queen takes d7, we were just able to grab this. And going back to my... And so, okay, yes, so we just kind of won this one without really any other issue. My position was quite good. So nice of them to force my bishop back to d3. Indeed, yes, so that was something I wanted to do anyway, and that's an idea I think we utilized well in a prior game in this arena. If I can find it, it's this game. It's this game. So here was another von Hennig. And so d takes e4. Of course, when they play d takes e4, they're expecting knight takes e4, and then either like knight d7 or bishop f5 or knight f6, which is mainline Caro-Kann stuff. But we play bishop c4, trying to take advantage of that diagonal. And again, I face this e6 line, which is not very... Like, most von Hennig players are going to try to keep this pawn a little bit. There's the bishop f5 line here, which is also some very, very fun stuff. Sacrificing the bishop on f7, you just saw queen f3, you're going to get a piece back and keep that king active in the middle of the board, so you should check out my other von Hennig Gambit videos. But this one is going to be a little bit dedicated towards e6, where they shut out this bishop, and so that's going to be a little bit different. We don't have immediate play on the light square bishop, but what we're going to do is have play on this diagonal. So, okay, of course knight takes e4, and white has an advantage, absolutely. But we love opening that f-file, right? Literally just to not have this pawn on the board is what happened. And if they ignore me, then, okay, I'll play f takes e4, take that whole center, not be down a pawn, and use that f-file. I'm happy to do that. So takes, knight takes. My opponent never plays here b5, and so you see the queen e1 maneuver start now. Also, another good feature of the f2 pawn not being there is this maneuver. So they play normal stuff. Bishop e7, knight f6, castle. Very normal stuff. But already you can see what's going on. So I slide my bishop back from c4, where it did good work here, to force e6, right? To force e6 because of all the tricks all in f7. Slides back to d3, knight d7, queen h4. And now all of a sudden, what's going on? My opponent actually realizes what's going on. But we are really looking at that h7 pawn. Bishop to g5, knight to e5. I want to remove that knight. h6 is never going to be possible because my bishops work really, really well along this diagonal. And g6 is something I absolutely want to force. Even, like you saw, okay, g6, I was winning a piece before. Not always going to be winning a piece, but I'm still very happy to just play bishop to g5, use these weaknesses around the king, play knight e5, play rook f3, rook f1, pressure f6, and then f7 behind it, right, with both these rooks. That could be very, very effective. Like you got two targets and they can't defend, and, only one can be defended. Also, this rook can come to h3, looking at that. So, you know, lots of good ideas in this position. If you can force g6, I mean, pieces are just playing very well. I mean, it's very, very worth the cost of a pawn, because also my king's never getting touched, and black never really generating counterplay. This bishop is very, very poorly placed, right? If this bishop were on g6, everything changes. Then it defends stuff, but that's not what happened. But they played rook e8, which is a very good defensive resource, because now I play bishop to g5, trying to remove this knight, and they're playing knight f8 even before I actually make a threat. I'm not even threatening to take it, because they still have a knight defending there, but they know knight e5 is coming, and I'm going to be threatening to take it. So they play knight f8, and do play knight e5. I actually have no huge threat in this position, because I can get rid of the knight, but there's a knight on f8, and it's defending h7, and I can't really get to that knight on f8. I can't really get to him, so they slid it there. Also, this knight is a little bit more mobile, because the rook is able to defend the bishop. So this was actually just my game a few games ago. Queen still defending d4, and so my opponent actually already playing c5, which is this bothersome idea for counterplay, and this is my first mistake of the game. It's plus 1.4. I just should take it. Bishop takes c5. It's just one check, and then maybe this is another threat to make with bishop takes h7. And also this bishop should come right back. This is a really brutal pin. And with h6 never being possible, it's kind of frustrating, so I'll always be able to take that. So in the game, I play knight e2. I'm trying to use like my one piece I haven't used yet, but knight takes d4 was kind of more trouble than it's worth. So knight e2 wasn't a great move. I just should have taken on c5. Knight g6, they popped out. I had to get rid of that knight. It was threatening my queen. And so what I tried to take advantage of with h takes g6, and so to be clear, if they did nothing, what I was going to do was rook f3 and probably just rook h3, which hits h7 beyond what just this knight on f8 can protect, right? So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to play bishop takes h7. So I'm going to bring my rook to h3, g6, and then, you know, I'd probably focus back on that knight on f6 if they play g6. h6, I would take it. So they have to do something. So they go here, h takes g6. They get that out of the way. They trade off for this powerful knight. What I'm trying to do now, the engine didn't like it. Again, they say I should have just taken on c5. I get it, because this bishop needs to really come right back to deal with this pin. I get it. That was my bad. So I played rook f3. This was a game I had berserked, by the way. So you can see my time at... actually, I guess I can't see my time, but it's at 38 seconds. And I guess let's see their time, maybe. At about 2 minutes. So we've each spent about a minute here, because I started with a minute and a half. They started with 3 minutes. So I play rook f3. And so my idea is pretty clear, though. I mean, cd4. I want to play rook h3 somehow. I mean, I guess they have an h5. I want to get rid of that. But without that pawn on the h-file, I'm trying to play queen h8. But they have this new square in h5, which is bothersome. They're trying to take here, and they're trying to challenge my queen. So I think I'm like trying to force just this checkmate idea too quickly, rather than just being like, okay, I have a better position. Let's play dc5. Let's get all our pieces into the game. And from there, the attack will come. It's how, you know, attacks do come, rather than just trying to force this one checkmate idea, you know, even at the expense of the rest of my development. So rook f3 and h5, which was a good idea. e5, very nice move, e5, really freeing that bishop is what they had to do. The point being takes knight g4, and black is free. Black is very free, and they're totally fighting. They're totally fighting here, sacrificing the pawn back. So in the game, knight h5, and I trade on e7, and then just have to come back queen f2, because I just don't want to trade queens. And this isn't the best outcome for having sacrificed the pawn. I think my opponent actually defended this quite well. I was pretty fortunate in the game b6, rook f1, that they just hung rook takes f7. But yes, I have, I guess, better examples of this working out with rook takes f7 here. So my mistake here was dc5. And so now, like, let's say bishop takes c5 check, king h1. Bishop comes back to e7. We play your rook d1. We threaten this. Bishop takes h7. And what we can do from here is really, really nice stuff of, like, playing e4, put pressure on this knight here, trying to make knight takes f7 work, trying to get these rook around to h3, but from a good position, from a situation where, okay, I already control it, now I can focus here, rather than finally being like, oh, I just want to get my rook to h3 and queen h8. I think that's an important lesson, because, you know, this situation rolled around, and I didn't have my rook on f1 here to, like, have rook takes f7, which would have stopped knight h5, right? Which otherwise would have made this checkmate idea work. So it's really important to get everyone in the game. My opponent, unfortunately, finally got the bishop in the game, and I was able to take f7, and then take that bishop. And I think I won this one, just kind of up the piece. Here, I'm up the piece. And, okay, we got that piece, and we got the rook, and we checkmated them barely with 2 seconds left. So yeah, pretty interesting couple games in this arena like that. I think those were the only ones I had like that. I thought kind of I had another. No, that's it. That's it for that line. It was a pretty fun line. Pretty fun line. Okay, well, subscribe if that goes on YouTube. I kind of like those E6 stuff and trying to really take advantage of that diagonal. All right, everyone.